It is now 7:14 on Monday, August 30th, 2021. I hereby call this meeting of the Board of Education of the Nordonia Hills City School District to order. This is a typical meeting of the Nordonia Hills City School District Board of Education. It is a meeting in public, but is not a public meeting. The public is invited to watch the proceedings of the board. There will be an opportunity for public participation in the open forum section of the meeting. If you are uncomfortable with open forum, comments and questions may always be submitted to the board and administration through email and phone call. Mr. Brown, please call the roll.
Mr. Bussey. Here. Mr. Larmer.
Here.
Ms. Matlin.
Here.
Mrs. McKinnon.
Here.
Mrs. Strong.
Here.
All board members present.
Please rise for the pledge of allegiance. At this time, we need a motion for the approval of tonight's agenda.
I'll second.
Motion is made by Judy and seconded by Liz. Go ahead and call the roll.
Mr. Bussey.
Here. Yes.
Mr. Larmer.
Yes.
Ms. Matlin.
Yes.
Mrs. McKinnon.
Yes.
Mrs. Strong.
Yes.
Motion carries. All right, we have one communication item this week, or this month. Karen Byers from the Nordonia Hills Building Boosters is here. Karen, thank you so much on behalf of the district for all that you do for us. Karen would like to give an update of where you've been focusing your efforts.
Yes, thank you. As Dr. Clark said, my name is Karen Byers. I am the president of Building Boosters of Nordonia Hills. We are a 501c3 charity. Started in 2016 to support the Nordonia Hills School District and students that live in the district. Today I'm here to update you on the Nordonia Hills teacher wish list. So this year we're sponsoring the wish list for 21-22. It's a Facebook group. Last year this wish list was started by Joe Fair as a way for the teachers and the staff to tell the community what they needed in their classrooms. The needs were immense due to COVID. It gave the community a way to assist and help out wherever they could to provide the staff and teachers with the tools they needed. Last year, over $60,000 worth of donations were made to the Nordonia schools, as well as the St. Barnabas schools. Although the teachers were the ones that asked for the items that were all donated belonged to the school, not the teachers. So the school benefited from that. When there were a lot of supplies that the teachers asked for that they would either have to pay for out of their pocket or they wouldn't even have for their school. Last year, the whole community stepped up and spent over $60,000 to support the schools and our school district. The teachers and the staff would post the items that they were looking for to a list, and the members would claim the items requested and send them to the teachers. In some instances, there were a couple of large items, and they were funded with a portion of proceeds from different people to get those bigger items for those teachers. I reached out to Jen this year and asked her if we were going to continue that and to provide a more stable way to allow the donations to be made, especially where multiple people were wanting to donate to one big purchase. So the Building Boosters was added as a sponsor to assist in managing this list. It is a Facebook group. The community members can still make a donation of items directly to the teachers. But if they wish to make a monetary donation, instead of Jolene having to have the money paid to her, then her put in her checking account and try to get it all out that way, we can now use Building Boosters of Nordonia Hills to pool any funds to buy bigger ticket items. And donations to Building Boosters are tax deductible for some people who that's important to. Any items or monetary donations made through Building Boosters will be donated 100% to the teacher or the wish list that they choose, and it will be considered a restricted donation. And since Building Boosters this year, we were able to run the concession stand for our fundraiser at the NHAA baseball games at Saginaw Park. We also have funds to match some of these donations and some of these requests. So far, this Facebook page has 890 members. For the current year, at least 15 teachers so far from Nordonia and St. Barnabas have already posted their wish lists, and some people have already received their donations. Members are also posting ideas for classroom projects, setups, or hacks, such as water bottle holders. This group gives to the community and the staff from the schools one more place to come together to show our support for the students. So if you're on Facebook, check it out. You can request to join it, and then you can see what is being requested and maybe make some donations. Thank you.
Again, thank you so much for your generosity. The work you've been doing the last few years is absolutely amazing. In addition to the teacher wish list, the scholarship that you give, and all the other the beautiful decals that are outside of our buildings, all of those things are because of the hard work that you've done, and we're very grateful for that. Thank you so much.
Next item on the agenda is open forum. Although the public has the right to attend board meetings, it has no inherent right to participate in deliberations of the board without its consent. Speakers may offer such objective criticisms of the school operations and programs as concern them. But in public session, the board has the right to request that complaints about school personnel or against any person connected with the school system be directed to the appropriate administrator. The board asks anyone wishing to participate in open forum to please sign the law. Mr. Ellis, you look like you're ready to get there. Go ahead. Just please sign in.
Is there a time limit for the first speaker?
Yeah, so, I'm sorry. In the July meeting, there was a few people that wanted to talk, and admittedly, I kind of let it get out of hand and turned into a question and answer session. That's not how open forum is supposed to be. You're welcome to stand up there and give your opinion. You have a 5-minute time limit, and then we will move on to the next person, but we will not be engaging in a question and answer class.
Will we be speaking through the mask? Will we be speaking through the mask?
I'm fine with you away from people 6 feet in the other direction.
There's obviously a lot. My name's Tim Allen. I'm resident of Sagamore Hills, 3 Children's District. Obviously, a lot of people want to talk about. I just want to kind of cut through the chatter and the noise and try to help, if I can, you guys understand why this is happening tonight. As you guys know, I'm at most of the board meetings. I'm not one to stand and scream and yell. That, in a way, has allowed me just to sit there and kind of see what's going on. So, Dr. Clark, at the end of last school year, you made it very clear to everybody that you hoped we could return to normal for the new school year. July 19th, we had a board meeting. There were some minor outbursts about busing, but the board made it clear that masks would be optional. That was confirmed in a July 27th district-wide email that Dr. Clark sent out to the school. On August 4th, just 7 days later, the superintendent of Twinsburg announced, as you guys all know, that Dr. Clark was recommending full masking for everyone in the school. That immediately set everybody off, because why is Twinsburg hearing about this before we are? In the meantime, so between that board meeting and that August 4th announcement, the number of COVID cases in our school district, 44067 and 44056, were in the single digits for the 0 to 20-year-old. I couldn't narrow it out 18 and under, which would be school-age kids. But for that entire area, I believe it was 9 for that. So I went back a little further before that to try to figure out what was the sudden change in recommendation. There has to be numbers somewhere with kids. It was pretty consistent, 1, 2 cases through that entire, with the 2 weeks before that meeting, the 2 weeks after that meeting, and that decision. So on August 11th, another week after the superintendent of Twinsburg announced it, we suddenly have a special meeting that's happening at 5 p.m. I heard from several parents, how the heck are they having it at 5 p.m.? I can't make it that early. Just a side note. So the survey was put out. Took me a little bit of work to get partial results. I still haven't gotten all of them. So on August 11th, or August 19th, you guys, as you know, voted. It's unfortunate that Mr. Larmer's not here, because a lot of this was directed at the way this was orchestrated, which is Dr. Clark, the board president. August 19th, the masks were voted for the entire district. So it was a complete 180. It was like walking a dog and somebody yanking his chain. You stand there going, what the heck is happening? That's what this community was doing.
You got bum rush, that's what happened.
So that's where the community division started. Prior to that August 11th email announcement that, hey, we're suddenly voting on masks, this community was fairly together. There was no major rifts, there was no Facebook arguments, there was no unfriending going on. Minor little disagreements here and there, but all in all, there was no massive group of parents that were ticked off. There was certainly nobody protesting. I've never seen that before in my life, at least not in this school district. And here we are today, a room full of people, a board meeting that barely can go on because it's so bad, and we have residents turning on each other. And I'm sorry you missed most of that, Mr. Larmer. The point is, had you guys just waited till this board meeting, brought it up and said, hey, we're going to keep an eye on the cases for the next 30 days, this may be something we need to look at, here's the numbers we're looking at, here's where we found them. These are intelligent people. They would have I'm certain they would have looked at those numbers if there was some kind of skyrocketing numbers, which I've tried to find. I've tried to find a way to back the decision that was made, and I couldn't. The decision that you guys made and how you did it, more important than the decision, is why these people are all ticked off and why we're having board meetings now with people screaming and yelling, why we're having neighbors arguing with each other. None of it needed to happen. There's absolutely nothing in any of the numbers that I can find. You guys all have my email. I sent enough questions and probably more questions and comments, and I hate to keep bugging you guys with them, but I need to be informed. I can't find anything in any numbers between July 19th board meeting and August 4th Twinsburg announcement that we're going to masks. I couldn't find anything to justify a 180. Couldn't even find anything to justify bringing it up again. So, I actually wasn't going to speak here tonight. That's why I was sitting there writing. But when I was walking down the hallway, one of those boards you have with lots of the attributes a student should achieve to, one of them is ownership. I'm just going to read this to you. A commitment to being responsible for one's actions and their outcomes.
Yes.
I'm just going to keep reminding and asking, board policy says you wear a mask, please put on a mask.
Can I go next? Doesn't the board answer?
Quite interesting, that each and every one of you have a different mask on. Each and every one of you.
Hello, my name is Eric Eisner. I live at Forestwood, 148 Forestwood. And, I'm not here to drive these people. I know they have a decision to make, but they should base it off of intelligence of their school board. Is this an acceptable mask for my child to wear to school? Sure, we'll say yes, because obviously each and every one of you have a different mask on. So therefore, at this point, a year and a half into this garbage, we have no standards set forth, none whatsoever. You just said put a mask on, and that's good. Well, I'd like to read this to you because this is the insert from the package that mask came in. It says, this mask is not personal protective equipment. It is not intended to replace or substitute for personal protective equipment. This mask is not intended to protect for medical use or to prevent any disease or illness. This mask is intended for single use only and should be discarded immediately after. What the hell, guys? Did you even read the box? I mean, seriously. And they're making the decisions off of people who I consider completely ignorant, like Donna Skoda. She should be testing these fast food restaurants, putting out this garbage food we've been eating the past year, uncooked chicken and things of that nature. That's her job, not sending forth national, state, local mandates. But do yourselves a favor. Every time you guys piss off the community, it seems like you always lose. You pissed off the community when you sold the land in Sagamore Hills. Now you're looking for land to build a school. Oh, by the way, I do have your comparables, and they were in Richfield and Bath, so let's do an assessment of the cost of busing if we build our new schools in Richfield and Bath. Because that's what you use to sell our land over in Sagamore Hills. But most importantly, if you guys consider yourself halfway intelligent, use your brains and assess the information. You're sending kids to school with a false sense of security. This is BS. This is garbage. This is crap. And this is crap, and what you're wearing is crap, what you're wearing is crap. You all have a bunch of crap on your face. Oh, by the way, this is made of polypropylene. And I know you guys are all liberal and it doesn't support your global warming cause because polypropylene is a petroleum-based product. So do your research, stop making yourselves look like fools. And another thing, the old vote shouldn't even count because Miss McKinney is a union member. Shouldn't she have abstained from the mask vote? Wouldn't this affect union members, the teachers? Aren't they still union? Shouldn't she have abstained from the vote? Because it involves them? Or do you guys just make up the rules as you go along? And lastly, Brad, you can keep looking for the sheriff, but he's not gonna come. I live in this town. We have 1.5 cops on duty and they don't do anything about it. So they're not gonna come to your meeting because it's not against the law. And just deal with it. I mean, be more professional about it. Be nicer to us as citizens, and it would probably go a lot longer way. I mean, I've been a jerk a lot in my life. How far has they got me with you, Joe Clark? Nowhere, right? But if I'm decent, you guys talk to me. So just follow the rules, spend an ounce worth of effort, and you'll probably get better results. But leave the direction.
Hi, my name is Dawn Seymour. I am a resident of Saginaw Hills and I have 3 children in our district. I just wanted to address something that keeps getting brought up, and that is the responses to the survey results. So I am curious by nature and a researcher by profession. I saw the numbers out there, but there was no citation for them, so I just started looking into them. Mr. Ellis had posted the results of the survey that he had, and I went through them literally line by line. And I just wanted to share the most updated total based on the publicly available survey. So what I found was that there are a total of 1,153 respondents, of which 50%, or 576, favored a mask mandate, divided into 2 categories. So 43% supported a full mask mandate for all students, and 7% preferred mask mandate for students who are unvaccinated and or students in the K-6 buildings. 47% of respondents favored optional or no masking, and then the remaining respondents were divided between no preference and didn't indicate an answer in their response, and those totaled 3%. So I guess the point that I want to make is that I understand that survey was just that. It was an opportunity for everyone in this community to provide the feedback. So I saw the July board meeting, and I know that a number of people did take the opportunity to speak their opinion on masks, and I appreciated that you sent out a survey ahead of the emergency meeting that dealt with the changing circumstances to gather that feedback from the community. So I just wanted to thank you for that and present the most updated totals so that we can all operate from the current numbers. And then finally, I just wanted to say, I know you got the feedback last year to our educators, but I really appreciated the staggered start this year. I had 3 children starting 3 new buildings, and it was fantastic. They were so much more comfortable with fewer people in the buildings, especially coming back after having been absent from school for so long. And so, thank you very much. I appreciate everything you do.
My name is Lori Doss, and I've been a taxpayer in the Nordonia Hill City School District for the past 44 years. I've lived in the community for 54 years. I attended St. Barnabas until the 8th grade, then I went on to Nordonia High School. I was caught off guard at the last school board meeting when Todd Stewart, the curriculum director, said that we would be using the SEL curriculum beginning the 2022 school year. I thought that's what it was, but it was 2021. I knew I needed to do some research to become informed. I had made a decision 6 months prior to begin attending school board meetings in my own district and also the district of my grandchildren as to keep my finger on the pulse of the critical race theory, CRT as it is known, that is creeping into the public school system. In my research, I have learned that the SEL, Social Emotional Learning Curriculum, lines up on the same team with the CRT. So totally caught off guard, here now, we have a new one creeping in while our heads are turned. When I further researched what is SEL, When I further researched what is SEL, the top info that comes up is a website called movethisworld.com, defining SEL as follows. Social and emotional learning is the foundation for all learning. Understanding what is social emotional learning leads students to acquire techniques for processing and managing emotional as well as essential social skills. It encompasses everything from goal setting to stress management, and it provides both children and adults with tools they can use to express themselves authentically and appropriately. Number one, I wonder whose definition of appropriately are they referring to? And define authenticity. Are you referring to traditional American values, which includes the Judeo-Christian ethic? Or are you promoting a secular humanistic religion, which is every bit as much of a religion as any other? In summary, I question the worldview that this curriculum projects. This is just not the role of public school teachers. Your job is to teach them objective learning.
Amen.
Allow the parents to shape their character and how their children view the world through their faith, their morals, and the things that they value. They go on to say that SEL is critical for building healthy relationships, communicating effectively, and living a meaningful life. Like, really? You guys are going to determine that for our children? Well, I'm sorry, that's all I needed to repeat before my blood was beginning to boil. That sounds to me like brainwashing. That is just not the school's job to teach my children how to live a meaningful, effective life.
Amen. It's programming. We're going to dump it into you.
That is the parent's job, and it's the parent's choice, how they teach their children to respond, and what determines a meaningful life. What happened to teaching math and science and geography and history? My mom will turn 100 years old in October. One thing I remember growing up is her often saying, and she said this often, how did one woman get prayer out of school? Yes, Madeline Murray O'Hare. People, we need to speak up now. We need to come together as a community and stop CRT and SEL. Please, community, get out of your seats and stand up for where our tax dollars are going. And I did write this 3 weeks ago when you had announced that. I did not really even know the agenda today was that. I wrote this 3 weeks ago.
Amen.
Did you sign in? Make sure you sign in.
My name is Doug Maxwell, resident of Macedonia. Just a couple of, my name is Doug Maxwell, resident of Macedonia for 25 plus years. Just a few observations. I believe Mr. Ellis said something along the lines of, intelligent people can disagree. I agree with that completely. Certainly there's a lot of factors that go into people's perspectives. People have different values. I think one thing we should not disagree about, though, is that we should respect other people's opinions and respect other people's values. So the fact that we have a lot of yelling and screaming and disagreement with the board doesn't make me feel good about the community. And so the other thing I'd say is that after some other comments about democracy, and the fact is that this final board was elected duly for following the rules and the laws of the state of Ohio. If you don't agree with...
This is not a law. This is not a law.
Remember what I said about respect?
There's no law.
Please let him talk.
In any case, if you only believe in democracy when you get your way, then you don't believe in democracy. We live in the greatest country, the greatest democracy in the United States. But if you don't believe in democracy, unless you get your way, then you don't believe in democracy. Thank you. God bless you guys.
I feel like I have to say something.
Then you get one shot.
That's what I meant about malnutrition parenting and fair out of schools. Look what that did. Look what that did. Those are not proven things that work. The majority
This has nothing to do with masks, nothing to do with what's going on. My name is Sabrina Pines, and I'm here to discuss an email.
No, I'm going to cut you off. This is personally directed against a private citizen. We're not going to continue that thought.
But that person
I don't
is
care.
involved in schools with women,
No,
with
ma'am.
children.
Ma'am, it's personally directed against a private citizen.
It is a private citizen, but my children are here.
No, ma'am. No, ma'am. You are not going to continue that. We have been advised by
Okay,
legal.
but then you know what? You don't want me to talk about that. Let me get my other.
Okay.
Hold on a second. You all have a copy of.
We had an email to us. We are well aware.
So you're talking about the 7 mindsets, and you're talking about SEL, correct? In the 7 mindsets, I heard the words no bullying, anxiety, diversity, self-awareness and self-management, social awareness, relationship skills, responsible decision-making. What are you getting my children out of responsible decision-making, self-management? As my kids walk into schools, and my youngest kid walks up 3 flights of stairs, and at the time, the gym teachers didn't know that they didn't have to wear masks, and goes from the ground floor to the 3rd floor of the middle school, and can't breathe by the time he gets out. He plays football. Coach Rudy was his coach last year. He ran. He's always running. But this is part of the SEL. The 7 mindsets. It's been around for 3 years. And we want to bring this in our schools. So why is it up to the school to tell my kids what to do? Why is it up to the school? Why do we need to bring any kind of differences that are there out? And Mr. Larmer, I will be totally honest with you. If you would have allowed parents to speak in your last meeting that was at 5 o'clock, when parents were working and couldn't get there, you wouldn't have any of this. This community has always supported what the board members do. Last year during COVID, I said, Dr. Clark, in the school board emails, thank you so much for keeping my kids like in school, virtual, what you had to do. But over the summer, the different things we got, and then you throw that out there the way you did. It was slimy. I don't know who you think you are. We, the people, voted you in. We voted you in. So then, let's go back to, do you want to raise my children? Because you want to teach my children morals? You want to teach my children Christianity?
No.
Wait, let's go back to the dollar amount, okay? $330,000 of ESSER funds can be used for SEL. The total, I think that was said in the pre-meeting, was $437,000. Well, what about the Tier 3 funds? How much money are we getting from that? Because we've done research, trust me. The ESSER funds could be used for building maintenance. The ESSER funds could be used for different things. How much money do you get? How much of the money is allocated with a curriculum for you to choose? Joe Clark, you said you've had a great program used for 12 years, but all you need to do is unify vocabulary for grades K to 12. And this would cost so much less than the 7 mindsets or the SEL. I raise my kids, and I do a pretty damn good job, I think. You know what? I don't know why this has come up with 7 mindsets, SEL, masks, everything else. Let us raise our children. If you want to raise my children, then you give me money for them. The money you're getting from the ESSER funds, the money you're getting from everything else, you know what? Then you give me money and I will allow you. But honestly, we voted each and every one of you into these positions. And Mr. Larmer, I am appalled at the actions you had at the last meeting with not letting your fellow board members speak facts.
That's your 5 minutes.
Thank you very much. I appreciate your time. And on the other matter, I do have copies if you would like some. Oh, hold on 1 second. And you and Liz McKinley both petitioned for this person? Think about it.
I'm not gonna talk about
Let's proceed to our recall.
If there are others going to speak, you can go and sign in now. You don't need to wait until it's your turn. If we could, that might get us through a little more. Yeah,
We got nothing to talk.
Good evening, my name is Julie Daniel. I have 2 children in the district and live in Sagamore Hills. I'm here to talk about the data and the factual data. On February 13th, a news article was published by the Akron Beacon Journal. That's the first couple pages of your packet there. Its headline reads, nearly 500 Nordonia staff get the first dose of COVID vaccine, which amounts to more than 90% of this district's staff. Summit County Public Health COVID-19 dashboard, which is on the Summit County SCPH.org website, shows data of vaccination by zip code. Those are the next pages, the yellow graph. And the age range of the total people that have been vaccinated. It's not a total number of the population of the citizens in the county, it's just the total number of those that have been vaccinated. Overall, in the 44056 zip code reveals that 67% of the total population that received a vaccine is fully immunized. In 44067, 59% have been fully immunized. There is no zip code in Summit County that reports a 100% vaccinated population as fully immunized. Have any of you looked at this data? It's local. According to the State of Ohio School Reporting Dashboard, that's the next page, the blue page, you're familiar with it. Nordonia reported 50 staff cases cumulative and 169 student cases cumulative for last school year. This is less than 10% of staff population that were infected and roughly 4.8% of the student population. Population numbers I took from the ODE website that you are mandated to report for attendance in October 2020. 3,485, males, females. My questions are basically to you, because you have been given the sole responsibility of making the decision of masks, according to the new guidelines.
What did you learn from your COVID-19 contact tracing procedures that you were required to follow by the state of Ohio last year? How many students were identified as contacts of a positively exposed classmate? How many of them actually contracted the virus from this classroom exposure? I can tell you that the experience with my child, who had to be quarantined as a contact, did not get it. What about the staff? How many of them contacted the virus from each other within the school setting? Were students, staff, in the federally funded summer school program wearing masks in the classroom after the Ohio health orders were lifted on June 2nd? No answer. How many confirmed student staff cases of COVID did you have during the summer school? Were you tracking them? Were you recommended or required to report this data to the county or state health departments? You already admitted in a previous meeting, Dr. Clark, that summer school students that rode the bus did not wear masks. Why is that? After contacting Peterman Bus myself, requesting their COVID safety protocol, Carla Dodd, who is the East Great Lakes Regional Manager, informed me that their driver's protocol only affects their drivers, not the students. She says the protocol for students will depend on what the district's policy will be. If the district will require students to wear masks while in school, then we would require them on the bus, because the bus is an extension of the school.
Ma'am, that's your 5 minutes.
No, because you guys have been putting out the whole time that Peterson doing.
Ma'am, that's your 5 minutes.
Keep going.
No, ma'am, that's your 5 minutes, please stop.
Let's go.
So what is the truth about the masks on buses? Is it a CDC order or a policy created after the truth was revealed? How many of these non-mask wearing students tested positive for the coronavirus from the summer school transporting experience?
Ma'am, that's your 5 minutes.
Hey, I'm a little freaking
She can have my 5
Ma'am,
minutes.
that's your 5 minutes.
She can have my 5 minutes.
When I researched local data on August 25th, which is
Ma'am, that's your
found
5 minutes, please stop.
Exactly,
Ma'am, that's your 5 minutes,
You know what? She just
Ma'am, that's your 5 minutes, please stop.
resigned,
Ma'am,
Chad.
that's your 5 minutes, please stop. We have a-
where are you getting your numbers from to determine when this mask mandate ends? What local data are you using?
Ma'am, we have a board policy. Please sit down.
What local data are you
Ma'am, we have a
using?
board
Honestly,
policy. Please sit
Can
down.
someone motion so she can keep talking?
Ma'am, we have a board policy. Please sit down.
honestly, what local data are you using to make these decisions?
Ma'am, you're done. Please sit
Because
down.
I found it
Ma'am,
on the Summit County Public Health Department site.
ma'am, that's your 5 minutes. Please sit down.
Please explain to the community what your criteria are for making your decisions.
Ma'am, that's your 5 minutes. We told you this is not a
Please.
question and answer. Please sit
That's all
down.
I'm asking.
Ma'am, please sit down.
What criteria are you using?
Ma'am,
Be
that's your 5
specific
minutes.
about it.
Please sit down.
She'll sit down when you answer the
What
question.
Why is the newspaper keep reporting that the school
Ma'am,
board
that's your
said
5 minutes. Please sit down.
that's
Please
enforcing
be
it?
quiet.
No, I will not.
Please be
I will not
quiet.
be quiet and public.
Please.
I believe it's your responsibility, since you are the sole, you have the sole responsibility, Dr.
Please
Clark.
sit down, ma'am.
You have the sole responsibility that the board voted you to make future decisions on the masks. You are judge and jury.
Ma'am,
It is your
5 minutes.
sole
left.
responsibility to provide relevant and
Ma'am,
specific detailed data to the parents and teachers of this district that supports 100% of your decisions unequivocally.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Jason Roberts. I have 2 children in the school. I'm a graduate of Maryland High School in the class of 1992. I live in Macedonia. I was not prepared to speak tonight, so I apologize if this is rough. I'm just going off of pages and pages of thoughts and notes that I wrote down. There are 2 topics I want to cover in the unbelievably limited time that leadership's allowing. The first is about the isolation quarantine procedure. I know, Chad, you're trying to not talk to us, but could somebody, maybe Tammy or somebody who is willing to speak, where does that policy come from? Who's giving you that information? Is it a guideline from someplace? Is it a health department? What is that? Because in the email, it doesn't say, it just says the isolation quarantine procedure, unless I missed it. Can anyone answer that question? Okay. All right. So, how would the board amend that policy? Are we required to follow that policy? Is there a procedure to amend that policy? Yes or no?
This is not a question and answer session.
You can be quiet, but they have the freedom to speak. Well, okay, we can assume that it can be amended. If I provided research to the board, would anybody be interested? You don't have to speak. You can raise your hand if you're interested. Shake your head. So that's what I thought. The two that shook their head. If I gave it to you, would you actually read it? Okay, all right. I can provide you with at least 15 studies, some of which are on the CDC's own website, that talk about COVID survivors, like myself, who have a much more immune response, much more robust immune response than the vaccine can ever provide. It is not waning. There's no talk about needing vaccination or booster. There's research that shows that if I got vaccinated, which I did, that it doesn't afford me any more protection. My request is that the board amends the policy to not just for kids that are masked or unmasked, or vaccinated or unvaccinated, but also that are COVID survivors. I would actually take my children, much like anybody can for a COVID test, and get an antibody test and prove to you that my children are not going to be shedding this virus to them. Okay? So there's 15 studies, an Israeli study that was landmark last week, thousands of COVID recovery patients that show way more robust response than what the vaccine can do. Our own Cleveland Clinic Foundation, 1,500 employees that were treating COVID patients that got COVID and survived, having much more robust immune response. The Cleveland Clinic is not requiring masking like our school board is, possibly because of that study. If anybody's interested in reading that, I'd be happy to send it to you. My other topic is the social emotional. I had a very nice conversation with Dr. Deb Wallace. We met for the first time. We're both undergraduate graduates. And I admitted to Dr. Deb, I'm not an expert on this, but I have read on this, and I will be reading more on this. The cost, $437,000. $437,000. $330,000 of that comes from ESSER. You're not required to take that. Folks, that's your tax dollars that came out of your paycheck. Whether it came out for local, it came from federal and state. So that's your money, okay? And then the other $108,000 would come from your local tax dollars. So you're paying for it, okay? Why don't we use that money for air conditioning? Especially for the mask. SEL is a major vehicle for critical race theory. It's just a fancy name for it, from what I've found so far. Which is the critical race theory. SEL is a foundation for identity politics and promotes the analysis of many aspects of life through the prism of race. This replaces second step. This is what we learned tonight. It's, quote, this is what I heard tonight, non-academic theory is getting in the way of students learning. Why don't we focus on core learning? We had distance learning for a year. My kids are both struggling. I'm paying money out of my pocket for tutoring, and we're trying to put this crap in our school now? Why don't we backburner that till we get caught up after COVID? Keep going, because I know we're proponents of SEL view themselves as the primary moral educator of children. My concern is SEL is really a call for schools to focus less on their academic conduct and more on correct, air quotes, attitude, beliefs, mindsets, and opinions. You must understand, folks, the difference between equality and equity. Equality means treating people the same. That's what we want, right? Yes. Equity means social engineering to favor supposedly aggrieved minorities, meaning treating some people better than others depending on the levels of oppression they claim for themselves based on the things like their skin color or gender. Is that what we want? No. Okay, thank you. Isn't it the very definition of racism when you teach a black female that she can't succeed because she's a black female? That's SEL. Can you guarantee that my white male children will never be taught that they are inherently racist because they were born white male? Can you guarantee that? I voted for you. It is never the job of the school to teach our children morals. It is your job to support and reinforce the morals that my wife, my church, and I have already
I am going to politely ask one more time that you please put on your mask.
You know, I got a question. When's the last time Miss McKinney and Miss Kane, when did you wash your mask last? When did you wash your mask? 2 days ago. And you really think that our kids wash their masks? I've seen some nasty masks. And those masks that are left on the shoe floor.
Let me explain something to you. I'm Sergeant Boyce from County Sheriff's Office. I've been sent here to give you guys some information. Number one, this is an official school board meeting, to my understanding. Number two, their policy is you're required to wear a mask in order to be in this building. If not, they will ask you to leave. I cannot enforce mask rules, nor will I enforce a mask rule. However, once they ask you to leave, if you don't leave, you bring the sheriff's office involved. Means I have to stop a school board meeting, which now means you violate 29-17-12, disruptive public meeting. All arrestable offenses. Please work with me here. I understand you don't like them. I don't like them. I don't agree with them. However, I have to follow policy in my own school system too. I understand your opinion. I understand where you're coming from. But if you want me to write out summonses all night long, I can do that. And I will escort you off the property. Don't put me in this position. Simply follow our policy. If you don't like it, use your personal rights and elect a new school board. This is not the time nor the place to stand in this position, because this will come with arrestable offenses, which may subject your career. Think about your career, how you support your family. That's all I have to say. He's asked you to put the mask on. If you don't want to comply, he's asked you to leave. And at this point, if you don't leave or put your mask on, we will arrest. Don't wait no second chances here.
Sir, you better see that mic now.
Go to chat. Go to watch. Go to watch, yeah.
Stand for our children. And respect you, respect our babies.
It's not your high school experience.
That's where I'm up front. Three from one south. Right.
Hi. Great job.
My name is Chad Green, 3 students, elementary schools, high school, middle school, and elementary. I have a prepared speech here. I may go through the whole thing, I may not. But as I was sitting here thinking today, it dawned on me, and probably many of us parents are here today as well. Who's a parent in here that has made a wrong choice for the children once? You're humble enough to admit it, right? We should all be humble enough to admit when we make a choice, or excuse me, when we make a mistake. We have the choice to then later consider the facts and go back and possibly change that decision. There's nothing wrong with that. That's humble. I'll go on to my prepared speech here. Members of the board, I'm sure that when each of you ran and began your individual terms to serve on the board, never in a million years did you think you would have to ever decide to vote on a mask mandate. The matter, however, is not about a dispute between those who only want freedom and those who favor children's health, as some may think. As parents, my wife and I are tasked with making decisions about the safety of our children every day and what is right for our children, and at this time, more than ever, we have to be even more diligent. As the media berates the airways with half-truths and lies, we have to filter the info and then make informed decisions for our kids. Each of us has the right to take the information and filter it for ourselves, and therefore will have different thoughts, which equate to different decisions as to what we know is best for our kids. There are many school districts around us that feel the same way, as they have voted to have masks optional.
If a parent or a child or employee feels safer by wearing a mask, then they certainly can, and that should be their choice to make. If a parent or child or an employee does not want to wear a mask because they know it may not be effective against stopping the spread of the virus, or if they have a moral reason not to wear a mask, they should be treated just the same and be given the same choice and deserve the right to choose. There are two other things that have led to frustration concerning masks. These two things are lies and hypocrisy. Just how many lies have you heard or seen about COVID in the past 18 months? Example. Thank you. Dr. Fauci, March of 2020, CBS interview. Yes, I know it's early onset of the pandemic. And he quoted us saying, people should not be walking around with a mask. When you're in the middle of an outbreak, wearing a mask, it may make people feel a bit better, and it might even block a droplet, but it's not providing the perfect protection that people think that it is, and often there are unintended consequences. Not too much longer, of course, he changed his stance and even recommended double masking. Think about that for a few seconds. The nation's director of the NIAID, who has held the position for almost 30 years, clearly doesn't know the right answer. Or maybe it is just to spread fear. Or maybe it is division, or maybe it is to cause division amongst people. When Governor DeWine ordered the mask mandate, he stated, I plead for you to wear them for 6 to 8 weeks, and we will crush this, Ohio. He must have misspoke because it ended up being 11 months. This is, of course, another example of a lie, or masks just clearly don't work. Just this week, information on a new study published in the Journal of Physics of Fluids done in July determined that cloth masks and basic surgical masks, like the ones given to students in Adonia schools, are only capable of filtering exhaled particles of 9.8% efficiency. Study further concluded that poor fit of cloth and surgical mask is to blame. How many times have you seen it below the nose? However, the media has been telling us for months that these masks are effective. More and more lies, and that is why there should be choice. And of course, I have an example here that Mr. Eisen spoke about earlier, what the labels read on the mask. I won't go over that, of course. Let's move on to hypocrisy. We have witnessed politicians at the federal level flee for mask use, and yet when they think no one is looking, the masks are gone. Apparently, they are more sophisticated than the civilians of this country, and therefore wearing a mask does not apply to them, or maybe they too know that a mask does not protect. All the other comment on the news with these increasing numbers and the use of adjectives like surge and skyrocketed and major increases in COVID cases. What are they comparing us to? Last week, last month? As of August 26th, the state of Ohio reported 4,600 new cases a day. Let's compare the spike we're seeing now, say it loosely, to let's say December 10th of 2020. At that time, Ohio reported 11,738 new cases that day. This means that the daily reported cases in December are roughly 155% more than August 26th. Again, this is another example of not getting all the truth. The media does this on purpose, and yet to filter through it. They don't report the data from just 7 short months ago because they want only to report fear.
Sir, that's your 5 minutes.
I have 2 paragraphs. Make sure the last one. I, like many in this room, would be for mask mandates. If there's a clear conclusion that they without a doubt would protect us, there is not. And that is why it must be a choice. Just because the CDC and other medical experts pushing a false narrative stated over and over and over again does not make it true. Science should be based on indisputable data, especially when elected officials who are not health experts want to make certain mandates. I ask the board and school administration to think long and hard about reversing the mandate and allow for choice. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Bob Schaefer, and I was at the last school board meeting. First, I want to thank the community here. At the end of the day, your school, oftentimes we give up that right by not paying attention and just not showing up for school board meetings, not voting for the right people for the school board. But at the end of the day, they're the ones that we need to talk to. And I applaud as strong as we've seen. Like the guy that used to do this years ago, give grades. You get an A, he gets an A. So anyhow, at this meeting last July, I walked out of here going that all Chad said for the board, we all support getting back to normal for the schools. Dr. Clark said the same thing. I went back and I listened to the video yesterday just to make sure I wasn't hearing things. But anyhow, I walked out of here saying, all right, this is so not what I'm expecting. I know the way this is going to end. And sure enough, it ended that way. Somehow, in a matter of less than a month, with nothing to back it up, it switched. So, I mean, if you want to answer questions, otherwise I have to make assumptions. And the only assumption I can really make on this is that it was another ploy to try to get people to stay enrolled in their donor and not just exit the private schools, where somehow they seem to manage to do things a lot better than we do here. And then, I don't understand. I really don't understand how everyone was getting back to normal, and then all of a sudden, 3 board members, which I don't think have ever voted against anything, the jokes, which, like the other guy said, we all make mistakes. It's the school board's responsibility to understand whether there is a mistake and correct it. If they're not going to do that, then what's the point? It's not one person, okay? Sure, he has his opinions, and looking at his tweeting history, they're so far left and center that it doesn't represent what the community wants. And it's the school board's responsibility to say, wait a minute, no. So I wanted to read a tweet that came on April 10th, okay, which was, to put it in context, about a month into the pandemic, April 10th of 2020. It says, public schools are social service organizations that also happen to educate. Interesting. Top priority right now is ensuring community physiological and social emotional needs are met. If student learning advances during this time, that's great. That's unbelievable. I mean, it's a school board of education, and if we're saying that people learn something that's great, come on. So that just gave everybody a license to take the rest of the year off, okay? Now, my son was a senior last year, and I gave him the option. I said, I know what's going to happen here. Why don't you go to private school? But he's like, no, I've grown up with all these kids, got a lot of friends here, so that's fine. And I knew what was going to happen, okay? And how am I supposed to? And I heard some of the reason that we voted for this was because we didn't want school to be disrupted. Well, I got to tell you what, it's hard for me as a parent to tell a student that school's important when he doesn't have to go to school and he's out with his friends playing golf or at the mall or whatever because it's too dangerous. We know what happens with the lack of education, okay? There's plenty of studies. If kids aren't educated, they have a hard time in life, okay? There's no questions about that. So I think we need to be a little more on the brave side when it comes to this, okay? Because the last year and 3 months has been ridiculous, okay? And insurance companies, gyms, they're giving people refunds. I think we deserve, as taxpayers, a refund because we didn't get what we signed up for.
Hi, how's everybody doing? My name is Jill Pittis, and I have 2 children in this district, and I attended my first school board meeting in July. And I came to complain what now seems like such a minimal issue about my daughter's athletics. And I heard a bunch of parents stand up and talk about masks, and I was kind of like, why are we talking about masks? We're done with masks. We already were told we're going back to normal. It's July, we're good. So then fast forward next month, and all of a sudden we're wearing masks again. And it just kind of came out of left field. And I was on vacation, and I know probably a lot of other people were enjoying their summer, and I know a lot of people probably just didn't even read the email because it's summer. So it was a really, really, really big blindside. But again, my kids are awesome kids, and they don't want to get in trouble, and they are going to follow the rules that are given to them. So they're wearing masks, obviously. But I just think it's crazy that my daughter and all the other kids in the school district are wearing a mask probably longer than anyone. We don't have to wear a mask when we go to the store. We don't have to wear a mask when we go to a restaurant. We don't have to wear a mask when we go anywhere. But our kids have to wear one for 7 hours, pretty much in a row, except for lunchtime. Which, again, they're probably sitting as close as we are here at lunch, and they're probably sitting closer at lunch than they are when they're in the classroom. So it's just, I think the last time I checked the numbers, there was 361 deaths for ages 18 and under in the entire United States of America. 361. That's about the size of my daughter's class. That is so minimal. The risk for their age group is so minimal. The amount, if you look from last year, that came from even the elementary schools where they can't even get vaccinated now, the kindergarten through Lee Eaton. The numbers in those buildings last year were so small, and especially the month of September last year, which was one COVID case, and we're wearing a mask. And I'll say this, after their football game on Thursday night, which is, well, this past Thursday, it was 90 plus degrees out, and then all those kids had to get on a bus, completely sweated, completely drained, and put a mask on.
Yes.
And that seems way more unhealthy than just being able to put the windows down and breathe. So it's just very frustrating as a parent to know that the statistics for their age group is so low to even pass the disease to someone. And before we were worried about them getting in and then bringing it home to grandma. Well, guess what? Grandma got vaccinated now, so they're not bringing it home to anyone. It's just them. And I just wish that our voices were heard and our community could come back together. It seems like there was one solution that just would have eliminated all of this. And it's called an option. And you know what? If the quarantine is 10 days for my kid because she can breathe all day in school, but then if someone sitting next to her has to get it, guess what? She'll stay home for 10 days. That's my choice. And I just feel like that was stripped from us. And I really hope that they get it back. And this is the last thing I'm going to say. We as parents want to know the game. We want to know the end game. How do we get these off our kids' faces? What do we have to do? What numbers do we have to be at? Because right now, the numbers don't justify it. So what is it going to take to get these masks off of our kids? That's what we want to know. And are you guys going to come up with something, some kind of plan? Like I know last year we were color-coded by county. What do we have to do? I've seen the classrooms in the buildings. We can easily get those desks 6 feet apart. I have no idea why we're in clusters of 4 in many of the classrooms that I was in if we're so worried about distancing. And if we really think that this is going to protect all of them, we've all got another thing coming.
I think I saw one more person sign in.
My name is Jay Fletcher, and I have 2 children in the district. So, yeah, I agree with you. These masks really don't do anything. I think it's more about control. We could let ourselves go down the road of Australia or Canada and be finding people for shaking hands Obviously, you go to the football game, you have a issue where no one's wearing a mask, or unless you want to, and then in school, everyone has to wear a mask. I think that a lot of times the school board thinks, oh, we're getting information from many different organizations, but we all know it's really the CDC, which is a corporation, for-profit corporation, that is running the show. I personally, think nutrition, vitamin D, stimulating your immune system is really, most people don't know about it, but a lot of people probably do now, but I don't think the school should be, necessarily pushing the vaccine and saying, oh, we can give you money for it. That's what the government's doing. I agree that the school board could reverse this decision, but we know in November we have some good candidates. We have Tim Ellis, Matt Kearney, Joe Kopech, and I think we should support them. And and if there's any action we can take to reverse this or have a recall election, we could always have something like that in May. So I just want to put that out there, and we can get organized. That's really half the fight. So thank you for your time.
Okay, I'm going to quote Board Policy 1.16. So it's okay. 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 So this is about masks. There's a great article that I attached in that packet for you from New York Magazine. It's a great article. And I'm going to highlight some interesting things in that article written by David Zweig. It's titled, "The Science of Masking Kids at School Remains Uncertain," on August 20th, 2021. It references a large CDC study of schools in Georgia from November and December 2020. Zweig writes, quote, "The extreme political heat around the issue of masks in schools is making it hard to have a coherent conversation about the science. The study found that distancing, hybrid models, classroom barriers, HEPA filters, and most notably requiring student masking were found to not have a statistically significant benefit. In other words, these measures could not be said to be effective. Many of America's peer nations around the world, including UK, Ireland, all of Scandinavia, France, the Netherlands, Switzerland, and Italy, have exempted kids with varying age cutoffs from wearing masks in their classrooms. Conspicuously, there's no evidence of more outbreaks in schools in those countries relative to schools in our country, where the solid majority of kids wore masks for an entire academic year and will continue to do so for the foreseeable future based on your policy. These countries, along with the World Health Organization, whose child masking guidance differs substantially from the CDC's recommendations, have explicitly recognized that the decision to mask students carries with it potential academic and social harms for children and may lack a clear benefit. To date, the highly transmissible Delta variant, which our SCPH person at the last meeting talked about, has not led them to change this calculus. Zweig also writes, the numbers coming out of Britain continues to suggest that Delta is not more virulent, does not cause more severe illness on an individual basis to unvaccinated people, despite being more contagious. A pediatric immunologist at a major university hospital said, it is not biologically plausible that the same variant somehow is more dangerous for kids in this country, USA, than it is in the United Kingdom. Why isn't Summit County Public Health taking the European data into consideration in regards to the Delta variant? You ask, can you meet with them? In fact, our hospitals are still not overrun since this began in March 2020. State of Ohio K-12 return to school guidelines mention the guidance of the CDC and American Academy of Pediatrics. I personally find the following information extremely relevant but disturbing. Zwick contacted both of these organizations asking for their evidence or underlying data upon which they had based their recommendations. The AAP did not respond to multiple requests. The CDC press office replied that since children under 12 cannot be vaccinated, the agency recommends schools do universal masking and included links to unrelated materials on vaccines and a recent outbreak among adults. Nothing about kids. He states that one troubling aspect is that this guidance has no endpoint or specific metrics. Neither have we seen any evidence of an endpoint in the new mask policy this board passed on August 19th. Have you, Dr. Clark, contacted any of these organizations to ask for evidence to support your recent policy change? There remains the question of relevant science, and this is what makes the Georgia study worth careful consideration. Over and over, studies and reports on children in schools with low transmission rates claim in their summaries that masking students helped keep transmission down. But looking at the underlying data in the studies, masks were always required or widely worn and implemented in concert with a variety of other interventions, such as increased ventilation. Without a comparison group that did not require student masking, it's difficult or impossible to isolate the effect of masks. Luckily, the district.
That's 5 minutes. Mr. Colbert?
Good job.
Hi, my name is Jacob Colbert. I'm a student here at Illinois High School. I'm a senior. And a lot of people that spoke here tonight are all parents, obviously. So I just want to tell you what I've experienced this past 2 days that I've been in school as an actual student. And me personally, the first day of school this past Friday, I wore a mask for 3 periods until I was seeing spots and my vision was blurry, personally. And now, I'd say I have pretty strong lungs, right? I run cross country, I'm very active, and I've struggled with masks the past few days. So the fact that you're giving it to these younger kids in elementary schools and kindergartens, it's just, for me personally, wearing a mask this long is just, it's childless. That's all I gotta say.
I have one more thing.
Did you sign in?
I did sign it. I will address it.
I just wanted to say, like, talking about vaccines, which I haven't talked about before, I am really upset about the way vaccines are pushed on our children. Personally, I'm vaccinated. I don't want my kids vaccinated until the FDA fully approves the vaccine for their age groups. Because I'm old. I don't have as many years left as they do. In 10 years from now, are we going to see on the news if you received this vaccine and you were in this age group? Please stop pushing the vaccine on the kids. My oldest son wants me to take him. We get in an argument every day. And I told him, when it is fully approved by the FDA for your age, we will go. I picked him up from Dan the other night and he said, guess who's getting the vaccine? And I said, who? He goes, me. I said, nope. It's 16 and over. He goes, thanks for ruining my night. I just want to say, please let the families choose if their children's going to get the vaccine and stop pushing it on them. Let the families decide. Thank you.
Committee reports?
Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry, go ahead. Committee reports, no?
No.
All right, let's move to the superintendent's recommendations. Item 1, I recommend you approve the consent items listed.
motion?
A motion.
Motion by Judy.
All right, a few items here. You see revised board policy regarding restraint and seclusion. You'll see the marching band trip to Indianapolis. You'll see our contract with Hex Driving School to offer driver's ed for our kids at the high school. Never ceases to amaze me the generosity of our community with a donation from the Summit North Lions Club to our cheerleading squad. And you'll see our transportation routing schedule.
Any questions or comments?
Mr. Larmour.
Yes.
Ms. Matlin.
Yes.
Mrs. McKinley.
Yes.
Mrs. Strong.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Item 2 is a recommendation to approve the City of Macedonia, Ohio ordinance number 39-2021.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
And this is the TIF that the board's been made aware of for some future development in the City of Macedonia that will provide, assuming this construction goes through and the project goes through, will provide some funding to the school district.
That holds us completely, we end up, because it's TIF, we end up getting.
No, so it's a 30-year TIF. For the first 15 years, keep in mind right now that the land is owned by a nonprofit, we get no tax dollars. For the first 15 years, we're giving up half of our tax. So instead of $200,000, you look at us in a year, we get $100,000. So for 15 years, we get about 1.5 million, then after 15 years, we get the full value. So we're giving up something that we're getting right now.
Right, that's what I mean, we end up getting it all eventually over the.
Eventually, yes.
Yes, that's what I meant, that's what I was trying to explain, so it doesn't sound like we're giving up anything.
No, we're giving up. Okay, any other comments?
Mr. Larmour.
Yes.
Ms. Matlin.
Yes.
Mrs. McKinley.
Yes.
Mrs. Strong.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Item 3 is a recommendation to approve the student academic consumable fees for Nordonia High School.
Motion?
I'll motion.
I'll second.
So I'm stepping on your feet there. You'll see there's a couple of corrections for AP Lit and Honors English, and then you'll see the AP test fees that are in the seminar and the research class.
Mr. Larmour.
Yes.
Ms. Matlin.
Yes.
Mrs. McKinley.
Yes.
Mrs. Strong.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Item 4 is a recommendation to approve the contracts for our People Services Department.
Motion?
I'll motion.
I'll second.
Motion by Liz, second by Judy.
These are 3 different contracts. One is for one student to the Applewood Center. Another is for our physical therapy services. And then the third is for a variety of other services, audiology, hearing impaired, visual impaired, etc. Obviously, these all serve students with disabilities.
Any questions?
No.
Mr. Larmour.
Yes.
Ms. Matlin.
Yes.
Mrs. McKinley.
Yes.
Mrs. Strong.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Item 5 is a recommendation to approve the contract with the Educational Service Center of Northeast Ohio.
Motion.
I'll second.
All right, and this is for our Option 2 program that we put together for our kids in grades K through 5.
Is this being funded completely by the district? No cost to parents for this?
No, it's no cost to the parents, and the district is paying what, Todd? $12.50 a kid, and we have about 30-some kids signed up. 34 as of today. Now, is that $12.50 per semester per year?
Per semester.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Larmour. Ms. Matlin.
Yes.
Mrs. McKinley.
Yes.
Mrs. Strong.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Item 6 is a recommendation to approve the personnel items listed.
there a motion?
I'll motion.
Second.
Motion by Judy, second by
This is a long personnel agenda, but there's nothing really unusual. You'll see we hired our last teacher on this agenda, Jody Radcliffe, teaching math at the middle school. You'll see that we have some long-term subs for some maternity leaves and some knee replacements, that kind of thing. A lot of other traditional or typical stuff this time, extended time for our counselors, our psychologists, our librarians, the LPDC committee, extended school year for folks, a lot of curriculum work. I do want to call your attention just to the, as we talk about personnel and how it changes, we have constant turnover, as one might imagine, especially in this day and age, where we have lots of resignations, leaves of absence, and then a lot of new hires, which you can see, and a lot of people changing assignments. So it is a constant turnover, particularly among our classified staff.
Any questions?
Mr. Larman.
Yes.
Ms. Madden.
Yes.
Mrs. McKinley.
Yes.
Mrs. Strong.
Yes.
Motion carries. And that concludes my report.
Take it away, your first time.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. And I want to present to you the consent items, which is item number 1, for your approval.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
And what's in this items, or whatever in these items, is a special board meeting from July and the regular board meeting from July, as well as the establishment of Fund 584 Item 4A and the student activity budgets for fiscal year 2021 through 2022, and finally the financial statements for the month of July 2021. And I will give a brief overview of how we ended the month of July. What we have here, I just want to make sure that you are aware that what we are operating off of right now is the temporary receipts and temporary appropriations that the board approved back in June. Under Ohio law, we are required to have permanent appropriations in place by the end of September. And so by that time, we will have that in place so that we will operate the school year off of permanent appropriations. But as of right now, this is what we're operating off of and comparing up. I wanted to point out how we ended the month of July on our revenue side. In totality for our receipts through July of 2021, we have just under $10.3 million. When you compare that to last year, we are at just under $10 million. So that is showing an increase of 3.2%, mainly attributed to two things. One is our all other revenues, other local sources. What's in that line item is our kindergarten revenue and tax settlements that we may have from time to time. As you recall, last year at this time, kindergarten collections for tuition were not really made due to the uncertainty of where we were with the school year, as opposed to this year, where we have begun collecting the full tuition for the school year. And then also, what's driving the revenues to be slightly higher when compared to last year is our property taxes. We are currently receiving our county advances from the county. The way they do that is they send us money up front, and then when the final settlement comes in, typically early September, they will back off the advances they gave us. So as of right now, those advances are coming in about 2.8% higher than they were last year. On the expenditure side, our total expenditures through July 2021 is just over $3.8 million, and when you compare that to last year at the same time period, it's 4.3 million. So that is showing a 12.4% decrease. Basically, the areas where we are seeing those items is on our salaries. The salary side of things is showing an increase due to the negotiated contract agreements of the 3% annual increase, as well as steps given to those staff. Employee benefits is showing a decrease of 55.4%. And the way that is working out this year is last year in July, the district reported a full month's premium of health care, whereas this year, the district chose to elect a premium holiday in July. So that's why we're lower on the expenditure side this year in that category. On the purchase services line item, we're showing a decrease of 55.5%. Three things are really driving that. Last year at this time, we had paid our roofing contractor for the high school, as well as some carpet line improvements at Hudson, at the middle school, and then the Rushwood Elementary. And so those items are showing that we were paid those last July, we didn't have those this July. The areas where we are showing some increases are in supplies and materials and capital outlay. Those two areas, one on the supply side is due to starting school up, school go. We obviously last year did not have that opportunity, so this year we are ramping it up and having that full operations starting at day one. And then on capital outlay, it was strictly a timing issue. We paid for our Chromebook refreshing, third and eighth grades in July of this year, compared to August of next year. So hopefully after we do August, you will see that even out. So overall, I noted a 12.4% decrease on our expenditures. Year to date, net income is showing a $6.5 million net income. So overall, our unencumbered, unreserved fund balance through July 2021 is $11.6 million. And I will take any questions if you have any.
Did we have one Korean holiday or two?
The plan is to have two for the month of July and August. Last year it was August.
Thank you.
Yep. So hopefully after September of this year, you should see a good comparison. Okay. Mr. Larmer?
Yes.
Mrs. Matlin?
Yes.
Mrs. McKinley?
Yes.
Mrs. Strong?
Yes.
Motion carries. Item number 2 is a routine approval of fund transfers. This is basically transferring the fund balance that was left over from the class of 2021, and they have approved that transfer of funds into the class of 2022. I recommend approval.
On the motion, is it second?
I'll second.
Any other questions?
Mr. Larmer?
Yes.
Ms. Madeline?
Yes.
Mrs. McKinley?
Yes.
Mrs. Strong?
Yes.
Motion carries. Item number 3 is a item that we need to do every 5 years under Ohio Revised Code. It is estimating the amount of active and inactive monies of the school district to be awarded for the period from October 1st, 2021 through September 30th, 2026. Again, this is an item that needs to be done under Ohio Revised Code, and it basically allows the board to do business with our grants.
Any motion?
Motion.
I'll second. This is a motion, I'll second. Any other questions on this? Ms. Brown?
Mr. Larmer?
Yes.
Ms. Matlin?
Yes.
Mrs. McKinley?
Yes.
Mrs. Strong?
Yes.
Motion carries. Item number 4 is a item to approve the service agreement for the PSI affiliates for St. Barnabas for the 2021-22 school year, and they will be utilizing their non-public allocation of the IDEA funds to pay for that. I recommend for approval.
On the motion, is it second?
I'll second.
Any questions on this?
And Mr. Larmer?
Yes.
Ms. Matlin?
Yes.
Mrs. McKinley?
Yes.
Mrs. Strong?
Yes.
Motion carries. And then finally, we need to appoint a delegate and an alternate delegate to the annual OSBA business meeting. And I recommend that to take place.
I have a motion to receive the delegate.
I'll second.
Anyone have any?
Okay. So this will be closing the nomination.
Yeah. No one else wants to nominate the delegate? No. You want to do this alternate at the same time?
We just said, if we want to move to close the nomination.
It's in this formality.
No, okay.
I'm going to move to close the nomination.
I'll second.
Mr. Larmour.
Yes.
Ms. Matlin.
Yes.
Mrs. McKinley.
Yes.
Mrs. Strong.
Yes.
Motion carries. Basically, appoint, no, now you need to appoint.
You just voted to close the nominations, so now you need to vote on the nominee, which is Liz.
Okay, we need a motion and then we'll vote.
I'll motion.
I'll second. I'll nominate that.
We're now appointing you as.
Nope, that's good.
Okay, Mr. Larmour.
Yes.
Ms. Matlin.
Yes.
Mrs. McKinley.
Yes.
Mrs. Strong.
Yes.
All right, you are delegated. For the alternate, or do we just open the nomination?
Open nominations for the alternate.
I'll motion to open it. That way-
You're just, no, you're just not.
Nominate somebody.
I'll nominate Sharon.
And then there's a second.
Is there a second?
I didn't know what it was.
For the alternate, if I can't be there, then the alternate would be.
She's not going to leave the alternate.
Oh, okay, just wanted to be sure. Okay, I'll second.
No one else wants to close the nomination.
Yes.
So you vote to close the nomination. Okay, I'll make a motion to close the nomination.
I'll second.
Give me a second.
Mr. Larmour.
Yes.
Ms. Matlin.
Yes.
Mrs. McKinley.
Yes.
Mrs. Strong.
Yes.
Motion.
We made a motion for the appointment of the alternate.
I'll motion.
I'll second.
Okay. Mr. Larmour.
Yes.
Ms. Matlin.
Yes.
Mrs. McKinley.
Yes.
Mrs. Strong.
Yes.
Motion carries. And that concludes my report.
Okay. So, we're supposed to be going into executive session, that was Mr. Bussing, like, you still want to do that, Dan? We're supposed to go into executive session, talk about the vote, that was purely on Mr. Bussing's request, so he's not here,
You're gonna move it to the next, work session then?
and we can eliminate it, right? So we should do it, yes, we can do it.
Yeah, why don't we do it for the next work session before board meeting then?
Okay, so I'm gonna make a motion to remove the executive session from the agenda.
I'll second.
Roll call on that. Mr. Larmour.
Yes.
Ms. Matlin.
Yes.
Mrs. McKinley.
Yes.
Mrs. Strong.
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right. Oh, sorry, this will be on the- Next meeting is September 27th, right here, 7 o'clock. Have a motion to adjourn. I'll let you.
I'll second.
Mr. Larmour.
Yes.
Ms. Matlin.
Yes.
Mrs. McKinley.
Yes.
Mrs. Strong. All right.